Hello, learners. I'm Katie.
I'm Vinny, and this is Learn Real Good.
Real science.
Real people.
Good times. It changes every time.
I forgot the slogan. I didn't realize. It took me a second to realize why you said that. I was like, real science.
We have zero consistency. As I'm going through the recordings, because I'm currently in the editing phase of our other episodes, it's different every time.
Wing it. We're improvisers. We're improvising.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
I know, but I feel like our branding could be better.
I mean, there's people with checklists out there who are like, okay, they said this. Wait, they didn't skip that part. We're going to get a lot of emails.
God, the hate mail.
Well, it's not hate mail.
That's a bit much for a free podcast.
It's just nitpickers.
Nitpickers.
Yeah.
We're in a real crisis of nitpickers right now. It's something that we don't talk about enough.
We need more nitpickers.
We need more.
No, we have too many.
Too many.
Yeah.
Too many.
We need more people to just go with the flow. Just relax a little.
Oh my gosh. There's no one can just ride the wave.
No one has any chill anymore. There's no chill.
We need to treat the world like a lazy river, not like we're salmon going upstream. Am I right?
Yeah, I guess
Against the current.
Oh,
yes.
Yeah.
You're agreeing.
I get it.
So what's new, Vin?
It's my birthday?
Why are you announcing that? People are going to hack into your credit cards now.
Yeah. My number is 225.
Okay, well, I mean, that's a personal detail. I'm impressed you're sharing that.
We're recording now. No one knows when this is recorded.
Okay.
It's clearly not coming out on the same day, so it's still a mystery.
Our guest does.
Okay, well, and now I know who broke into my credit card account.
Would never happen. Now, for people who are new to our show, Birthday Boy, we're going to chat a bit because this is fun to listen to, I think, and then we're going to share facts.
Yeah.
And then we're going to have a guest that we're going to interview, and it's going to be a good time.
I love it. It's always a good time.
Always a good time. Always got time for Learn Real Good.
That's good. You should copyright that.
Original.
An original. Yeah.
Now I wanted to bring up.
Yeah.
Okay, because I think ahead of time of stuff to chat about.
I'm sorry, can you say that again?
One new thing. I'm feeling real breakfast TV today. We got a new television.
Yes. Yes, we did.
And it's a leap in quality, visually speaking.
Yeah.
And I was going to say how we, to sort of experience the new colors and the quality.
To enjoy the picture.
Yeah. Well, the first thing we watched, full disclosure, was a terrible 80s movie we watched a terrible 80s movie for a bad movie night. That was how we christened the TV. But we then watched a nature doc. What was that? It was a David Attenborough, Life in Color.
On Netflix.
Was it on Netflix? I tried to find it again.
Sponsored by nobody.
It was awesome.
It was beautiful.
Really beautiful.
Yeah.
And the cool thing with this one, because there's 1,000 David Attenborough nature docs, is that they show like what it looks like through those animals' vision.
Yes.
So that was
you get to
neat
see like ultraviolet vision, and that was mostly
it was mostly that. I mean, honestly, it was a bit oversold, maybe.
It has 3 episodes. It really should have been 2.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I came on here with the intent of advertising this.
It was great. It's beautiful. If you have like a 4K TV, watch that. It's just, you don't even need the sound. It's just beautiful to look at. David Attenborough, get out of here.
He's fantastic.
He is fantastic.
It was great. I love nature docs.
Yeah, I love nature docs too. I learn from them too. Real good.
Hey.
Worked it in.
Nice. Nicely done. Are you ready for some facts?
I am super ready for some facts.
Well, as you're the birthday boy, which I had no clue you were going to announce that. Do you want to share a fact or get a fact? You get to pick.
Give me your fact.
It's your big day. Okay. Well, here I come. Okay. So this actually has to do with color, which is partly why I brought that up, and has to do with salmon. Well, I wonder if that was, that's how that came up earlier, salmon going upstream. So my fact is about, I guess, an evolutionary justification for why spirit bears exist. So let's start with spirit bears. Are you aware of what spirit bears are?
I have no idea.
Okay, so with black bears, there exists a recessive genetic mutation where some bears can have, instead of a pretty much black fur, white, pure white fur, like a polar bear.
Like a polar bear, but black bear sized.
Correct. And not in the ice, right? Black bears live in the forest with lots of dark colors.
And presumably not just like an albino bear.
Well, I mean, that is what it is.
Oh, okay.
Basically, yeah. I mean, anyone who's an albino, that's the result of a genetic mutation to not make the pigment, right? Cool. So in this case, it's no fur pigment. Could be in a human, it would be no skin pigment.
And they usually have red eyes for some reason.
So that has to do with lack of pigment, and then I guess the apparent color has more to do with the shape of the eye. The same reason why there's blue eyes, right? But there are no blue pigments, so it has to do with how light passes through that. I never
thought about it.
Material
blue eyes too.
Yeah. Anyway, back to the spirit bearers. So spirit bearers exist in perhaps a surprisingly consistent ratio. Basically, 1 in 10 is a spirit bearer.
Whoa, that seems high.
Yeah, it is quite high. That's part of why people are like, what's up with this? You know, if it was an unfavorable mutation, or if it did nothing, you'd expect it to be less prevalent. Indigenous cultures sort of, they're the ones who gave the idea, the name spirit bearer, and they have stories around this about how the creator would make purposefully one of every 10 bears a spirit bear, a white bear, to remind people about the fact that the earth used to be covered in a glacier and to appreciate the bounty of our current habitat.
Love it.
Okay, so why a white bear? What could be the advantage of that? Well, do you have a guess?
No, I just thought it. I was like, I guess it's there because it's an advantage of some kind.
Well, it's more common than you would expect if it was just random and wasn't being maintained.
Interesting.
Yeah, so it's like, well, there probably is a plus to this.
Okay.
So what is that? It can't have to do with predators because no one goes after bears. So what is the advantage? So they think
stealth.
So
turning into polar bears.
Or
sneaking into polar bear parties.
How did you read this? So this research comes from I have the name of the researcher, so I might as well give it. Thomas Rymchen out of the University of Victoria in British Columbia. He did a cool experiment. So first I'll tell you his hypothesis before we get to how he tested it, but he thought it might have something to do with how bears appear to a salmon underwater.
Whoa.
Okay, and so what he did was he has a cartoon that accompanies this discussion, which is really helping me because this is at my level. But if you picture a salmon looking out of the water, right?
Which I do often.
They're going to see things at the surface in above the water in a 97-degree cone. And you can sort of like draw out what this would appear for a salmon looking above out of the water, what a bear sort of standing over you would look like. Now, it's not still water that these salmon are often encountering these bears. It is river, stream, moving water, and that's going to chop up the picture so it's much more scattered. So it almost looks like there's little chunks of bear.
Like a scrambled cable channel.
Yeah, exactly. But bear chunks. Now, if you're a black bear, you're still fairly conspicuous, but he thought if you were a white bear,
against the
sky, you'd be much better hidden. And this idea of sort of what you can see looking out is called the Snell's window. Snell's window.
Perfect. It's a great name.
Anyway, so this was his idea. And so he tested it by, and I got to show you these pictures after. He would take a barrel and either cover it in black cloth or white cloth and basically set it in the middle of a river with either on basically what looks like a table, and sometimes he would give that table black legs versus white legs to see if the leg color matters or is it the body color that matters. And he found that it was the body color that made a difference, and salmon would stay away from the black barrel compared to the white barrel.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So the white barrel is less conspicuous in theory, I guess, to the salmon. And so that's why it's an adaptation that's advantageous.
Absolutely. They don't run away from it the way they do a bear. And he actually sort of is extending this hypothesis to be why many birds that hunt fish from above tend to have white tummies.
Underbellies. Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. How about your fact?
My fact has to do with space.
Ooh, yes. Let's dive up into space.
So there's a rover on Mars, a new one, Perseverance. It's very big.
He just won't quit.
It just drives around.
Yep.
Not quitting.
Mm-hmm.
And one of its jobs is to drill into things, look into the rocks around it, and see what's there.
Cool.
All right, so the rover is going to drill into the rocks and extract a small piece of chalk-sized amount of rock, and then it's going to put it into a little canister.
Adorable.
And it does this in pairs, so there's always a redundant backup. So it's like it picks a rock and then drills 2 holes side by side, and then puts them both in canisters, and it just drops them there
Drop somewhere?
on Mars.
Oh.
It just leaves it right where it drilled it.
Oh, okay.
So he's got these two little canisters with rock, and then it's gonna go along and find another rock and drill it, and then put them in canisters and just leave them there.
How are they going to retrieve them?
That's the cool part. There's a whole separate mission called a retrieval mission that is going to be launched next year, and it's going to take, or in the next years. And there's two of them. There's two missions, and they're going to send two missions to pick up one set of canisters, and then the other mission is going to pick up the other set of canisters.
Whoa. So why couldn't this guy, obviously it would have been more optimal for Perseverance to clean up after himself.
Sure.
So why couldn't it?
So you can only send so much weight in a launch. And so this rover has a whole bunch of instrumentation on it.
Right.
And it has the stuff to drill to make the collection of the samples. But to send it back, you need the mission to send it back. The mission to send it back is going to be a big kind of lander that's going to land on Mars. It's going to have a rocket on it.
Whoa.
To send stuff back to Earth.
Yeah.
Actually, it's even cooler than that. So it's going to have a lander. The lander is going to have a little robot that's going to wander around, pick up these little canisters, bring it back to the lander, put it in a rocket. The rocket's going to go up into space, and then that rocket is going to shoot it like a canister full of its samples into another rocket that's going to send back to Earth.
Oh my gosh.
This is like 20 million steps process.
So what, do you have any idea over what percentage of Mars you've got these samples kicking around? Was it like a small area?
We have
Is it
zero.
all
We
over
currently just did our first sample.
Okay.
And so
are they going all over the place?
So they're wherever Perseverance is going to drive around over the next
Okay.
X number of months is
Wow.
going to collect that many samples. So there are 43 tube like little canisters, and there's like a whole bunch of engineering that had to go into these canisters because it has to be small enough to fit in the lander and be able to be moved around by the robotics because it has to like load up each canister one by one. Then it has to like be dropped in a safe way. It has to stay there for 10 years and not be contaminated in any way. And then it has to be picked up by the rover and survive a trip back to Earth.
Whoa, what takes 10 years?
Well, they don't know how long it'll take to collect these. So they project a 10-year lifespan. It has to sit on Mars for up to 10 years. Well, I guess plus the trip back.
Yikes. All that for some rocks, am I right?
And then the other part is that these canisters have to be precisely engineered, but also hyper sterilized, because one of the missions is to look for evidence of previous life.
Yes.
And the cleanliness level is that the inside of it has to have less than 15 nanograms of organic material inside it.
Wow.
And a thumbprint leaves 45,000 nanograms of organic material.
Wow.
So just like you can't touch it. And so they had to build a clean room inside of another clean room to get it extra clean.
That's crazy to think of. Like, you don't... I feel like if I don't see visible filth on this table, it is like 90% clean in my brain. You don't think about all this invisible stuff happening. Even in a super clean situation, even then, with all that technology, there's still bits of organic material. That's crazy.
Shocking, yeah. But they want it to be like, if they find something, they want it to be like, we went extra lengths and can prove that there was no organic material when we sent it out.
Well, there was a couple nanograms, let's be honest.
Okay, sure.
It wasn't completely free.
It wasn't completely.
You can never.
You can't.
That's crazy. Wow, that's neat.
Isn't that neat?
Yeah, they should send a Roomba up there.
I mean, that's kind of what that's what's going to pick it up. A little rover that just goes and picks it up.
But to pick up all the little things, to like suction them up. That would be great. Wow, neat. That must be quite a wild ride to do all that.
And 1 out of 10 of every canister is white.
I know. What? Oh.
Like the spirit there.
They call them spirit canisters. All right. Well, that's enough goofing around with us. It's time to bring in our guest. Yay. And I have the distinct pleasure of introducing our guest, Alivia Mukherjee. She's currently a PhD student at the College of Engineering at the University of Saskatchewan. In her research, she's investigating to find ways of managing wastes generated from the coffee industry.
Whoa.
Yes. She mainly works with coffee grounds taken from big coffee chains in Canada and is also utilizing them to produce carbon samples to capture CO2.
Whoa.
Yes. Olivia loves talking science, radio DJing, painting, dancing, and would one day like to be a professor in the near future to pass on the knowledge and educate people to make this world a better
I
place.
love it.
She already has. Please join me in welcoming
Welcome,
Olivia.
Olivia.
Thank you so much. It's sometimes so good to hear about yourself from the other one. I was feeling, was it me? Oh, yes.
Who's this great person?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's true, especially as a grad student, right? You always are looking at this very, very long-term goal. It's hard to sort of stop and see all that you've accomplished already.
Oh my goodness. I don't know what to do with myself tonight. I'm already overwhelmed.
Well, Olivia, this is your scientific life. We're going to talk about all your biggest hits.
Sure, I'll be glad to do that because it's been a while. I spoke about myself and bragged about myself, so I am going to nail it.
Yes,
Trust
well,
me.
Perfect.
brag away,
Yes.
be
We're going to
braggadocious.
celebrate you.
We love it. Now, this project is wild.
Yeah, there's so much going on.
I have so many questions. So, first off, let's talk about the coffee industry. So we're going to work our way towards the research and looking at using coffee grounds to sequester carbon dioxide in the aims of preventing further climate change or
Sure.
reducing it. But why coffee? How did you come to the potential of coffee?
Okay, so the bragging time starts now.
Go.
So one fine day, you know that Saskatchewan is one of the coldest place on earth. And okay, I'll not brag about it. So one fine day, I was having my coffee and I was just sitting in a particular cafe at the campus, and I just saw someone taking a bag full of waste and dumping it and packed in front of me. I was like, okay, I don't mind. Do whatever you want. You're getting paid for it at least. And then, out of curiosity, when I was done with my coffee, I just couldn't help myself, but I went and I kind of opened the bin and saw what's there. I saw a bag full of grounds, and that too, it was hot because they kind of got that really, like, maybe in an hour or so. And I was thinking, and I saw those bins like 2, 3, and I saw them doing that maybe 2 or 3 times a day. I was just doing the math because, okay, this is one particular cafe at one particular place, and how many cafes are there? How many grounds, like how much ground is getting generated? Because Canadians are crazy about coffee,
true.
and I was not wrong. When I did the research, I first started with the coffee consumption. It was huge. And slowly, steadily, I got to see, okay, we can actually utilize it. But I had to find something novel because, people are already doing work, but it's mostly in European countries. Thankfully, very less people have explored coffee in Canada, very less. So it was just in the beginning of my PhD, and I was struggling to find something because I work using waste. Okay, so then I kind of approached because we are from the lab where we do waste management because we are trying to produce renewable sources of energy. So my professor is always after waste,
Wow.
including me.
That is so cool.
It's very cool.
So, but I wanted something different. I knew that I'll be talking about it, so I wanted different. So I told him that I would work on coffee, and he's like, "From where are you going to get your stuff and all?" I explained him. He's like, "Okay, go and do whatever you want." Slowly and steadily, my process began, and I started my research. And as of now, I got some really good results, and I'm impressed that I saw that lady dumping that waste that day. It surely had some reason. I know now. So, and also one fine day, another person came to me and told me, why you are only working on grounds? There are other waste, which is coffee husk. And I was like, okay. And from where I can get coffee husk, because I know Canada or Saskatchewan does not produce coffee beans.
Too cold.
Yes, too cold. Again, I don't want to brag, but too cold. Yeah, but you always need a good statistics about your waste, because if it's not getting produced in a good quantity, you do not have a point to explain. Because we can't say the industry that, okay, it's generated in this amount, but it's giving me this result. The industry will say, shut up. What are we gonna do? So then I was like, I actually got a contact, and there's a lady, she works and she has her own company. She sells coffee, but they are kind of dealing with this waste management.
Mm.
So I found her through LinkedIn, and I told her,
Wow.
see, I want some material from you, and gonna work on it for carbon capture and blah blah blah. She was pretty interested. She gave me 4 bags of husk. I don't know what she thought. 4 bags of husk, and those are like big bags.
Wow.
I thought she's thinking like she'll be doing research all her life. Let me give her 4 bags of husk. And anyway, I kind of did that research as well. So that is why I say that I'm working on coffee waste related, like coming from the industries, because one is coming from the
Mm.
retail, and the other one is coming from the supplier, or maybe the
Unbelievable.
place where coffee is so produced. And with time, I'll let you know, it's amazing to understand the chemistry, and it's amazing to imply so many things together in one place. With time, I'll let you know.
So that's really cool. You came to this question like organically, right? It wasn't something that was fed to you by your supervisor. You were just out there in the world. You made an observation. You asked a question. That's sort of a dream scenario
Yeah.
for coming up with a project.
It's like a raccoon's curiosity. Oh, yeah, what's happening in this garbage can?
Well, it's like a very romantic depiction of being a PhD, right? When old naturalists used to just go out in nature and look at stuff, and then something would happen. They'd be like, I wonder why that's happening. And that's how projects used to begin. So it's really cool to see that that's how Olivia found her project.
Very cool. Just like hanging out, and like this is part of my. I've seen people throw out coffee grounds.
And you've done nothing, Vinny.
I did no research whatsoever.
So Olivia, you're an engineer. So you found a pile of waste coffee. You sit in your office. How do you start like looking at potential? Did you immediately say carbon capture, or like how do you find the potential of these wastes?
So what happens is that a waste is a waste. That's it. And you should always know that everything has its value. Even it's a waste,
Mm-hmm.
it has value. Trust me. And we chemists, or we chemical engineers, kind of tagged it as biomass, because it's biologically degradable, as well as it is produced in mass quantity together and all. So it's biomass. And this concept of biomass is in the air for a long time. So I knew that, okay, this is a biomass.
Mm-hmm.
That is one point checked. Like, I know something will happen using this waste. It won't let me,
Yep.
feel like, okay, you have got nothing, but you have just got the waste. Then I told you that there are so many works happening in Europe. Especially, you might know that European countries are one of the highest consumers of coffee, and you'll be shocked to hear, if I'm not wrong, Norway is one of the highest consumers of
Oh.
It's
coffee.
cold like Saskatchewan.
Yeah. Norway, Italy, these are the countries, they have highest consumers. And obviously, with waste, researchers get idea that, okay, let's use this. And from their paper, I got to know that, okay, this is not a bad candidate to be explored. So what usually is done when you get this kind of waste, you do certain pre-treatment, or you just wash it. Of course, trust me, there were so many duds, because it was like filter paper and all
Oh,
and
yeah.
all. And you do all that by your hand, but you
Good
just always
times.
imagine, okay, I'm gonna get a PhD out of it. Don't worry. I'm gonna get PhD out of
You're
it.
motivated.
So yes. So after cleaning and all everything, you just kind of dry it, because just a general knowledge, coffee grounds are too moist, and you need to dry it, because if you want to cook it, you can't cook it in moist ambience. So after drying, you just cook it. That grounds, once cooked, is useful for any application. Like, even you can use it for wastewater treatment. You can actually use it for fuel, like biofuel. We say these days we're talking about sources of fuel coming from renewable sources, like, and also for carbon capture. The reason is, I'll just give you this basic understanding. You might know acid and basic concept, right? The acid molecules and the basic molecules. So these two molecules, they attract each other. Just simple reason. Just take it as plus and minus. So interestingly, I didn't know that earlier, although, but interestingly, carbon dioxide is acid, and the coffee carbon, after being cooked, becomes basic in nature. That was one of the findings. One of my job was already done. So I was like, yes,
Nice.
one checked. But there is another thing. Like, I always talk about accommodating people. Like, I can't believe myself getting into a closet and spending the whole day. So likewise, if you do not provide enough space to those tiny molecules, they won't also kind of fit in
Mm.
there. So the another factor that we researchers focus on, like anything, is the space. Like the more the space we create, the more the molecules will be accommodated. So just after simple cooking, I got area which is equivalent to a one bed apartment in LA. Okay.
Wow.
So just imagine, from nothing to an enough space as well as basic surface. So I'm already in a place to attract and trap the
Right.
molecules. And I won't say that, like, I won't stop here, because as a researcher, like, I do have future recommendations and everything. We always have a scope for
Mm-hmm.
improvement. So you can add more spices to make your food more tasty. You can do that. And you can also cook it in barbecue or maybe more heat. Then you're also going to get tastier food. So I just
Hmm.
explained this way. And this is how I got my sample, and it worked awesome.
Wow. Now I'm
Wow.
hungry.
You said barbecue. Vinny's distracted.
Now I have a really, really important question.
Oh boy.
This is a tricky one.
Okay.
Olivia, do you drink coffee?
My goodness, if you see a coffee cup outside your pallet plant, everybody knows Olivia is there. Like, I'll just tell you, in our pilot plant reactor, those are like the big reactors, or in your lab, you're not supposed to take any drinks or any food. So coffee is also one of them. But my professor kind of understands nowadays, if he sees a coffee outside a lab, at least someone is there. And that someone is Olivia.
Well, that's good news that after rooting around in coffee grounds, pulling out filter paper, it hasn't turned you off
Yeah.
of coffee. You can still appreciate
No, and
it.
I can tell you one thing here. Even I'm so crazy about coffee that when the campus was all closed due to COVID, and it was not like any options, like all the options were
Mm.
closed, I actually walked every day to 8th Street to get my coffee,
Whoa.
and I didn't have a bus pass. So
Oh, wow.
wow.
imagine
Dedicated.
how crazy I was. Yeah.
So you mentioned that you interact with big coffee chains. So how do you just kind of cold call them and say, "Hey, I need some
I need
coffee
some coffee grounds. What are you doing
Mail me your coffee
with your
grounds."
Put it in an envelope.
Were the companies generally very agreeable, and what kind of volumes of coffee grounds are you dealing with over here?
Awesome question. And this is actually a very technical question, I would say, because everybody's keen to know that the amount and how do you get and everything. So actually, I didn't want to go outside the campus. I wanted to grab it from
Mm-hmm.
the campus, because if it's coming from the campus, I can also portray, like, see, I'm contributing to
Yes.
some kind of waste
That's right.
management, right? So I actually there are so many coffee chains. So I went to one of them, and they told me that their main uh, cafe is at so place, and there's the manager every morning, so you can go and talk to her. And when I spoke to her that I wanted for my research, trust me, she looked at me with so much respect.
Mm.
She's like, oh my god, there is someone who came to grab the waste for research. And she's like, how much you need? I said, give me a bag. And trust me, the mistake I did by asking for a bag, she, out of excitement, gave me one of the heaviest bag. Again, thought that I'll be doing research all over my life. And that was so heavy, because I said that it contains
Of
water.
course.
Right.
So it was so heavy, and I was all by myself. I thought, what I was thinking.
So people are like,
So, and
why
it was
is Olivia
winter.
dragging a wet bag of coffee down the
Yeah,
hall?
people were actually seeing me, and they were seeing me a brown stuff inside I'm carrying. And that was winter. Like, I was not even
Oh
walking
no.
properly. I was like, okay, again, I console myself. This is going to fetch you a
That's
degree.
right.
This is for your PhD.
Everything.
Don't bother.
Sacrifice.
People will forget.
Yes.
So this is how I grabbed. And like I said, because of the consumption, the generation of waste is high. In million tons, I would say, Northern America accumulated all the coffee chains. And I get a very common question that if you're doing it with one kind of retail, what will be the result with the other ones? But most of the time, it's coming from one particular source of beans, which is Arabica. So the behavior will
Right.
almost be the same, but you can't expect, like, for instance, obviously the steak is steak, right? But every food chain is not offering you the
Right.
same taste. Similarly, there will be differences, maybe certain amount, but you're going to get almost the same result. So I actually am after Tim Hortons, looking into its statistics. I could not choose any other retail chain. So yeah, it's good. And like the consumption and the generation, they are in proportionate.
This is a very Canadian research question.
Proudly
Yeah,
Canadian.
proudly Canadian.
I just wanted to say, since you brought up Tim Hortons, you mentioned you were hunting for coffee all over campus. I can't believe Tim Hortons hasn't mailed you some sort of coffee maker or sponsored your research, taken you on as a spokesperson.
Because of coffee thing, I don't mind Tim Hortons didn't brag about it, but because of this coffee thing, I have spoken to people, and I don't know why they find it, whenever they hear about coffee, their eyes get popped up. And I think that's the reason I'm kind of winning at least anything whenever I go anywhere. So I'm kind of thankful to Tim Hortons indirectly. I don't mind they giving me coffee. But yeah, after my degree, I can say, see, this is from the coffee grounds that you guys produce. You want to give me a lifetime coffee
That's a
bean
deal.
for free?
That's a good deal.
They ought to.
So
Yeah. That
maybe after my PhD.
Yeah.
it's amazing that it's one of those foods or items that it's like chocolate, where it's like, oh, coffee, like people have a relationship with.
Absolutely.
People, like, because I'm a tea drinker, but Katie is a coffee drinker.
Oh yeah, I'm right with you, Olivia.
So every morning, and Katie is making her little pot of coffee.
Cannot wait.
And just like you cannot function without it.
Yeah, it's ritualistic.
Yeah.
It's flavor. It's caffeine. It's
It's
gastrointestinal.
It's the whole regimen of it.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, it's a ritual for a lot of people, and they they have like a relationship with their favorite coffee, and it's something, like you say, North America, Canadians, there's a lot of coffee that gets consumed, and so a lot of people have this relationship with this one item, and so being able to find a way to reuse or continue getting utility out of this byproduct that like is a waste, like you say, I think it engages people in a way that, say, if you like came up with like corn husks and be like, oh, we found a way to use corn husks, I'd be like, okay, great. But coffee, it's like a daily thing in my life.
And I think everyone, even people who aren't super environmentally savvy, are aware that coffee grounds are a lot of waste. If you drink coffee every day, your life is somewhat marred by having to dump these grounds some way, which is always messy.
Yeah.
And where do you put them? The garbage, the compost, down the toilet? Like everyone puts them somewhere different. But to have like a solution almost of where you can put them and how this can be good for the planet, I think is appealing. So that brings me to my next question, Olivia. So you looking ahead 10 years, you find this evidence that coffee, once super cooked and dried out, can sequester carbon dioxide. How do you think the average person is going to be able to participate? Do you picture like some sort of device that's in the home that you dump your coffee grounds in and it automatically roasts it and starts sucking CO2 out of your house? Or do you think people are going to ship their coffee grounds? Like, how do you see this working into society?
So if everything stays well, if the situation is going all right, then I always see it as a plan. So if you see that, I believe in your house, you might have different kind of garbage bin. If I'm not wrong, you have one recycled, you have one totally getting into the field. So I'll just say the black one, the blue one, and the green one. Okay. So I was actually thinking, okay, so this kind of waste has its color. A coffee bean will have its brown color. And these big retail chains, like they dump it in a certain garbage bin, they will dump this in the brown bin. Okay. And in future, like maybe a small company will have its truck, will come every certain particular day in a week to grab that waste, because these waste can stay for a while, like maybe 2, 3, or 4 days, because they just doesn't get bad. So you can take that time, you can grab it from the retails you have contract with. And I hope people will environmentally seek into this kind of project, because everybody's running after sustainability, starting from Microsoft, Google, so everyone. So I just am confident that maybe not now, but 10 years down the line, even the government will bring some kind of regulation that, okay, coffee is going to this particular bin and this company is kind of utilizing it. Because in UK, there are existing companies where they're producing pellets out of it. Like, if you know what is pellet, it's just like the substitution of coal. So you burn it, you get energy. So they actually, things are happening in reality in Europe. So those kind of companies will collect the garbage, and after the garbage is collected, you need to have a unit where you'll cook it, because this cooking cannot be done everywhere.
Right.
Now the final product that you get is called activated carbon or biochar. You can actually utilize, like, get it all in place, produce enough amount to send it to the industries, one thing, where they are going to use it and capture carbon dioxide, because those places are the
Right.
ugliest sources of carbon dioxide. If you know that when we you will definitely know, who am I asking, during respiration we take oxygen, we give carbon dioxide, but that is not the reason of global warming, trust me. Don't stop breathing.
I was
The
about
reason
to.
for
Wait, you did it.
Okay, so Vinny is contributing towards climate change, but don't do that. We need you.
All right.
So the ugliest sources are these industries, but we can't call them ugly, right? We need
Yeah.
power. Otherwise, we will be in dark and this session will not have happened.
Mhm.
So they use coal, they produce carbon dioxide. They're doing this for a long time. Okay. But now they need to implement some kind of unit where they will just capture the carbon dioxide
Right.
finally before emitting that nasty gas into the atmosphere. That's it. They just need to add one unit with this sample containing inside it, pass the gas through this, the CO2 will happily sit in that
Mm.
carbon surface, and you will kind of emit a very pure, or at least neutral gas into the atmosphere.
Hmm.
So this is one strategy. Other ones could be, you can produce pellets, you can sell, people can use it in future when coal will come to a dead end. You can also use it in air purifier, like you
Right.
said that you want it to be at a certain corner of your place. So air purifier contains some kind of material inside it to soak those kind
Mhm.
of organic chemicals like smells and
Right.
everything.
Mhm.
So in place of that material, you can add this carbon coming from coffee. And then you can also, like I said, it's not only for carbon dioxide, it can also soak other pollutants,
Mhm.
but definitely it would need a modification like that. I'm not saying the one I made will change the world. It will need a different kind of modification, but it has the ability to work accordingly.
Now,
Super cool.
my question to follow up on this is, once the CO2 is locked into these cooked coffee waste, what do you do with that? Does it break down and just get re-released? Like, is it locked in? Like, what happens to this after you've locked in the CO2?
So once you locked in the CO2, CO2 is happily sitting there because it has got or found its
Mm-hmm.
base, and they're sitting there kind of having a very romantic thing going
Oh.
on. You can do one thing. You can just send them to space, like bury them, and like be saying, okay, you guys can do whatever you want just under the ground, okay? And otherwise, if you want, I'm an industrialist, I want almost everything out of
Yeah.
anything. So I'll think like this. CO2 is causing global warming though, but it's amazing chemical, trust
Mm.
me. I'm saying this because I have to negatively portray CO2, as that is my job as
Yes.
of now, but it has its benefit and it has its pros and
Sure.
cons, like I say. So when CO2, if you think about utilizing CO2, it can actually be utilized to even produce biofuel.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so biofuel, soda industries, fertilizer, every company you name, they might directly or indirectly need CO2. So you can just collect the CO2, you can send them to different industries and make money out of it, or you can just bury it in the under the ground to make sure that it's not at least emitting,
Mm-hmm.
because
Right.
that is the sole
Yeah.
purpose. Like, you want a carbon negative emission,
Right.
like nothing is going out because already there's enough. It's beyond Earth's budget. Earth's budget was, like, for example, it was 200 ppm,
Yeah.
and we people have given her already 415 or
Oops.
420 ppm. So
Sorry about all the
yes.
breathing.
So don't stop though,
Yeah.
Vinny, I'm
I'm thinking
serious.
about it.
Don't do it. You can't put these ideas in his head.
I want to do my
Yeah.
part.
So this is how you can utilize CO2, or you
Yeah.
can just dump it and you feel good about it. Okay,
Right.
I'm contributing.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
CO2 is not like nuclear waste where it's going to
Sure.
poison things. It's
Right.
not
It's
No,
not.
bad.
no.
It's
It's
not
just we don't want it
uranium.
in the air.
No.
And you know what? Plants need CO2
Plants love it.
eventually.
They love that.
So eventually you're giving back the thing that is what required by the plants, and you're not even polluting the earth. So both of them are happy and we're
We can
happy.
send it to a coffee plantation.
The
Yes.
circle
Circle
of
of
coffee.
life.
Very cool. What a cool project,
Very
Olivia.
neat, yeah.
It's an easy sell.
There must be so much coffee generated just in Canada.
Yeah,
Just
I
even
can't-
in Saskatchewan.
Coffee capital of Canada. Do you have numbers from doing projects, Olivia, about like how much coffee waste we generate?
Yeah, we kind of have a good statistics though, but I would just say that we are not in top two. Just
Right.
even after drinking so much of coffee, I don't know. We now need to bathe in coffee maybe to get into that spot.
All right, I'll do
But
it.
we are-
I'll do it. You put another idea in my head. I'm gonna hold my
no,
breath
you're
and take a
not.
bath in coffee.
No, don't do it,
Don't
Vinny.
do it?
Don't do it.
All right.
Don't do it.
No, I think Kate is gonna take my advice. She's gonna bathe from tomorrow. Okay.
Wow.
How can I get
Not
more
drink-
coffee? Bathe in it. Hadn't thought of it.
How can we be
Osmotically.
the first? So how can we be the first in the world? So we are in the third position,
Oh.
and I can say that average a person drinks 1.5 liters of coffee, like both inside and outside their home. 1.52 liters of coffee. So just saying 1.5, you get half of the ground. So you get almost 750 grams of waste. So whatever amount you drink, even it's 1 liter per person, then you get 500 grams of coffee. And that is why we get almost 20, like if I'm not wrong, 5 to 6 million. There's a calculation actually. We get coffee in bags, 60-gram bags. So 5.3 or 6 million times 60 gram, that amount of coffee
Good
is
God.
consumed every year.
It's yearly.
And
Okay.
yeah, and like I said, including every countries in Northern America, I just focused on Northern America
Sure.
because it's not possible to focus in one country, because sometimes you need to have big statistics to make your project look cool. So I found it's 20 million tons of waste generated each year.
Wow.
20 million.
And what
is
happens
not
to it
up-
now? Now it goes compost. I
Depends where
guess.
people put it. Some people
Yeah,
put it in the right
people-
garbage.
Yeah. No, people actually, companies have ways to dump it into the landfill. That is what happening
Wow.
in most of the cases. But you know, there's a red flag in this. Like if you dump it, it's gonna emit methane
right.
after a while,
Mhm.
because that's how it works. And if it's emitting methane, it's also not good, because that is also a greenhouse
Oh,
gas,
no.
and interestingly a strong
Yep.
one. Like what's happening here, CO2 is weak, methane is strong, but fortunately or unfortunately CO2 is in huge quantity. That is why it's dominating over everyone else. But methane is like, oh, it's not that in huge amount, but if this gets increment, like if this amount increases, then we are in serious trouble. So without dumping
Oh,
it, we
man.
have to come up with ways to utilize it.
So there goes my idea for a coffee-based car system. A bad idea.
Yes. Yeah.
So Olivia, let's find out about little Olivia. Were you always interested in science? How did you end up as a chemical engineering student?
I'll be really honest if you ask me this question, and I hope this honesty will
Yeah.
help people
Yes.
and they won't run away from science. So I was a nerd from the very beginning.
Nice.
I won't say that I was not nerd. I was nerd. Okay, nerd in the sense I used to perform well according to my mom and dad. My mom and dad says that you guys kept, like, I have a twin sister, so they kept on saying, if you guys do well this year, like if you guys don't do well this year, we are not gonna expect anything.
Wow.
But I don't know why we kept on doing well and they kept on having big expectations. But when I was in grade 10, I wanted to become an RJ. Like, I don't know why I got
yeah.
this. I used to do theaters and drama and heard a lot
Oh.
about this news report. I told my dad I want to become an anchor. I want to be an RJ. And nobody in my family has ever done that. And he is like looking at me and thinking, what is this little girl talking? Like, is she even serious? She doesn't know how to, like, how to think about her future. So my dad said, okay, you can do, but after taking science, like in India, you have
Right.
this kind of system. So I was like happy, okay, after I'll finish my 12th, I'll again approach him with a hope that he'll say yes. So I tried my best to perform well, because I thought that will help me to get my wish fulfilled.
Mhm.
And then I went to him and he said, you perform well and you're asking me that you'll become an anchor? Are you
Backfired.
You
serious?
fell for that trap. You fell right. You walked right into
I
that
was
one,
like,
Olivia.
what happening? What do you want me to do? He said, go for engineering
Mm.
and then we'll think about it. Because I was kind of good in chemistry and they thought
Sure.
that chemistry and chemical engineering will fit. So I was like, okay, 4 years, I can just kind of, delay my
Aw.
dream
All
of becoming
right.
an RJ and I can go with the engineering
So
thing.
was hang on. So
So when
was
I
little Olivia like pretending to be a radio jockey, like with a little hairbrush, be like announcing the news or playing their favorite songs?
I used to recite, I used to do drama. So I was all over the
Mm.
place since very, very childhood. Like I still remember my mom saying that you hold the mic when you were like 3 or 4 years old and you were on stage and performing in front of
Wow.
a big crowd. So that was like, I didn't have a stage fear. So when I was doing engineering, I thought, okay, I'll pass every semesters with good grades. And after 4 years, I'll be free bird. I can go and do some internship. I'll do my radio jockey thing. So in my very last semester, I was asking my dad, okay, now I can become a radio jockey now. He said, oh my goodness, after getting a bachelor's in technology, you're asking me that you want to host a
Your
show.
dad has
I was
one
like,
really good trick.
Yeah.
you know what? At that time, I understood. You know what? I need to be independent. I thought
Mm.
I spoke to myself that I need to earn money because I'm under him,
Mm.
and he's kind of giving me all this
Mm.
fake hope and everything. But eventually, I knew that it's for my good or maybe for the betterment. So then I kind of took masters. So after I did masters, eventually I got to know about doing PhD in abroad and everything. I was like, okay, I think I have an escape. If I go exactly out of my country,
Ah.
nobody can tell me what can I do. So there I actually have put in a lot of energy. Like, you need to give a tons of exam like IELTS and GRE and get papers and everything,
Mm-hmm.
and then you need to start begging to
Mm-hmm.
professors, you're picking the diamond, don't worry, please pick me. So after doing this for 1.5 years, because I was just thinking about getting my kind of like life in my terms, I was desperate. So eventually I landed in Saskatchewan
Ah.
and I made a group of Bengali people here because I'm Bengali.
Okay.
And one of them, one fine night, said, do you like radio shows? I was looking at him. You're my godfather. He said,
How did you know?
I'm going to do yes. He said, I'm going to host a show tomorrow. Do you want me to join? I said, wow. Like, I thought then that this is something the God is giving me now because I was so crazy about it. And eventually I started to host this show and I feel happy now because at least I'm able to do something which I wanted. And also I'm kind of fulfilling my parents and partially my dream,
Yeah.
I would say,
Absolutely.
and getting my things done. But that is why I say that I want to become professor because I like talking to people.
Mm-hmm.
And if you become a professor, you have to be a talkative person.
Yes.
And can you tell us what this radio show is about?
Yeah, like this is actually for the Indian community here. We have ICCA, India Canada Cultural Association, and they have their show called Sangeet Mala. And we kind of play different kind of songs, we talk, and sometimes I bring guests. And that is how the show is carried. And eventually I'm thinking to have more slots, but as of now, because of lack of time, I can't commit. But I'm happy that at least I am doing something in a week
Yeah.
which makes me
It's
happy.
perfect. What a great fit.
Yeah.
The best part is that you can just wake up and go because people can't see you, they can
Yeah.
hear
That's
you.
the real
And
bonus.
I can take these undue advantage because most of the time I'm sleeping at 4 a.m. or 3 a.m. whatsoever, and the show is almost at 10, and I just wake up, kind of prepare myself, and go there. And I know that they're not seeing me, but they're listening to me. That's
And
important.
I will bet that you have a cup of coffee with you.
Nice.
Yes, because there's coffee like Tim Hortons just beside it. How can I miss my coffee? I
It's
just see
perfect.
myself,
Now,
yeah,
Olivia,
drinking coffee and
you're obviously a fantastic researcher. You
Yes.
got this really cool project that's really actually going to help the world. Not everyone can actually say that and have it be true. And you're a great science communicator, as we can see as you're communicating your science on this show. Now, do you think that this background in theater and radio has helped you in your communication of science?
Absolutely, I won't say no to it, because I like I told that I never had stage fear, but this never thing occurred after appearing for so many shows. Even for this one, I just sat like I had my tutoring session from 6 to 7, and then I'm like doing this one. I knew that even if I don't nail it, but I'm going to talk about it. So eventually, I would give credit to my parents. I would be honest here. Because of them, they kind of helped me to understand that public speaking is not that big a deal. I utilized it. I have participated in tons of competitions so far and have represented my lab, my professor, and touchwood have won something, at least the honorable mention or the special
Wow.
mention out of everything.
Amazing.
So I always give credit to my parents for this, because when I was 2 years old, I didn't think very much about it, right?
Mm.
They kind of dragged me to that stage. So all credit goes to them.
Well, some
And
credit's
I
got to
would
go to
say,
you.
Yeah, this is your bragging. Wait, what happened to bragging about Olivia?
You take all the credit.
oh, I was just being modest. Otherwise, people
Let's
listening will think she's thinking so much about herself.
Not at all. Well, Olivia, you have been a phenomenal
Yes.
guest. And I think you are making the world a better place.
It's a
Nailed that goal
what a
already.
Great project.
Yeah.
Super fascinating.
Yeah, can't
you
wait
so
to read
much.
all about it and to have that brown bin to
And
put
to
my
bathe
coffee
in
grounds
coffee.
in. And bathe in coffee.
Yes. So don't bathe in coffee or don't stop breathing.
Right.
That's what I would
Oh,
say.
those are
Don't
important.
take
Those are good
these two
tips.
options.
Those are good life pro
I'm
tips.
gonna put that on a t-shirt.
Thank you, Olivia, so
Thank
much.
you,
Best of
Olivia.
luck.
Thank you so much.
Wow.
That
Unbelievable.
was very cool.
It's it's one of those things like we can do something with coffee grounds. How has that not? I guess as she said, it's happening in Europe more for all
Sure.
sorts of purposes. But yeah, people got to get on that. It's
We
just sitting
generate
there.
so much of it.
So much of it.
But I think one of the things that I think is only now starting to click in the general mainstream is the full life cycle of products.
Yeah.
Because we generate things, but then we're like, oh, and then we throw it away
Yeah,
and it magically
disappear.
disappears. And we don't see how much garbage we're generating. We don't see the effect that it has on just everyday life outside of our kind of curated existence.
Yeah.
And the chemicals that go into some of the products and how they end up in our water or our landfills or in our air. I think we have to start thinking more holistically about how we use and build products.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree 100%. And I'm going to think twice about flushing my grounds down the toilet, which is what I currently do. Because honestly, it's messy putting it to compost. Digging it out of the French press to put it in
I
the
see.
compost. It gets everywhere. It's
Right.
too much for me.
Don't think
We are
about it.
composters, but the coffee grounds.
The coffee grounds. Well,
But
now
you know
we're
what?
going to cook it, and
Not yet. We have to get those devices.
I can just put it in the oven.
Vinny, no.
Okay,
Please do
bad
not
idea.
pour the coffee grounds in the oven anymore.
Okay, well, fine. We'll see.
Okay, well, we'll see.
Well, no promises.
Well, it is your birthday. Okay, well, that's our show this week. Vinny, do you want to send off our viewers, our listeners, on our socials?
If you want to learn more about Learn Real Good, you can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at LRG Pod. That's LRG Pod on all your favorite social media channels.
And what if there's a grad student out there who's like, I want to be a guest? What should they do?
If you're a grad student out there who's thinking, I'd like to be a guest on this show, why don't you send us an email at learnrealgoodpodcast@gmail.com. That's learnrealgoodpodcast@gmail.com.
I wish we were a video podcast, if only for the intensity you get just when you're announcing those at the end.
I think it comes across in my voice.
It does. Well, thank you, Vinny.
Thank you, Katie.
And thank you, Olivia. And thank you for listening,
Thank you, listeners. Stay tuned for our next episode.
when we will learn
Real
good.
good.